the main chip washer. It's real talk. Man, it's real talk with your main chip Washington. When it comes to information, the main got an arsenal. Bring you up to speed with what you need. He's a local and nationwide news feed. Let's talk about it. Dialect to do something about it. Chip got the flow wide open if you got questions about it. Man, it's the show that brings you to your raw. To solve all problems, it starts with real talk. Real talk. It's 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 real talk. Yeah. Welcome to Real Talk with your host, Chip Washington. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk.
And here we go on this Monday evening. It is time for Real Talk Memphis. I am your humble host, Chip Washington. Very happy to have you with us on this day. I think it's the 16th of August. Am I right about that? 16th? 16th of August. The gang's all here. We hope that wherever you are, you're doing well. We haven't communicated in 7 days, and oh my, has there been a lot of news going on. In terms of the show, and you may be asking yourself, how do I get this fine piece of radio broadcasting? Well, I'm glad you asked. You can actually do it one of a few ways. We are live right now on 91.7 WYXR on your FM dial. You could also go to the station website, which is WYXR.org. Hit listen live, and you will catch us. And you can go on the TuneIn app. Just hit we'll actually put in WYXR in the search, hit play, and you should hear us crystal clearly. And last but not least, we are back on Facebook Live. So if you want to check us out, please feel free to do so. If you want to say hello, please feel free to do that as well. I'd appreciate it. It's always nice to hear from one or two of you out there. We have a pretty good show tonight, man. I tell you, there has been some news, and we're going to get to all of that in a few minutes. Dr. Steve Threlkeld joins me at the top. And, of course, you know, the ones of you out there who don't think the Delta variant is a serious issue, well, I hate to disappoint you because it is extremely dangerous and serious, and young people are being affected. School districts are being closed. Matter of fact, last Friday, South Panola, one of the high schools there is going virtual starting this afternoon. Hernando High School, because of the ever extensive mounting amount of cases, is also going virtual starting tomorrow for the next 2 weeks. We'll talk more about all of this in just a few minutes. But as I said, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but I'll mention it again. Dr. Steve Threlkeld, infectious disease doctor from the Baptist Medical Group, will join us to give us an update on what's going on in that world. Also, Mr. Eric Barnes, the CEO of the Daily Memphian. He's the host of Behind the Headlines. He hosts a radio podcast called The Sidebar, and, you know, he washes cars, he does this, he does that. Anyway, he's a busy man, and he was going to join us, or he is going to join us, rather, at the bottom of this hour. And last but not least, many of you theater goers out there have missed the effects of a live Broadway-type show. Well, the Orpheum Theater, as of this point, is planning their brand new season, and to talk with us about that a bit later on, Mr. Brett Batterson. He is the president and CEO of the Orpheum Theater. So he'll talk to us about the upcoming show season and some of the precautions that they're taking in reference to COVID as well. So couple of weeks ago, we stopped using the existing birthday theme because it was a copyright deal or whatever. So I had one made. So the names I'm going to read tonight are going to be the first names under the new birthday theme for Real Talk Memphis. And please feel free to chip in and let me know what you think. So without further ado, hit it, Jack. No, wrong one. The new one. Not that one. You'll get me in trouble. There you go. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, thank you, my friend Dula. Brand new birthday theme. So here we go. Celebrating birthdays today. Happy birthday goes out to John Carroll, Casey Monroe, John Wesley Carter celebrating her birthday today. Candace Clemens Sneed is celebrating her birthday today. This is Andre Rogers, Mr. Charles Elliott, Beth Cave Moss, and Diane Marshall Young. All celebrating birthdays today, so happy birthday to each and every one of you. And tomorrow, because I won't be here tomorrow, I'll do it today. Happy birthday to my friend, Mr. Michael O'Harris, celebrating a birthday on tomorrow, Tuesday. So if I didn't get you in or you had a birthday over the weekend, congratulations and happy birthday to each and every one of you. Jack on and fade me on out. I like that. That's a smoking song. So yes, my friend Dula, the producer extraordinaire, put that together for me, and I thank him for that. And again, what do y'all think? What do y'all think about that? I thought that was a pretty. I told him when he sent it to me, and I listened to it. I said, "Man, that's pretty smooth." And he said, he sent me a note back saying, "Yeah, man, it is pretty bumping." And I was like, "Yeah, it's bumping. Okay, it's good." But thank you, Dula. I really appreciate that. Let's talk a few news and notes as we start things off on this Monday evening. Well, as we all know, the Delta cases are exploding all over the country. Now we're at about 130,000 cases a day, averaging the last 7 days. That's in this country. 130,000 new cases a day, averaging over 500 new deaths a day as well. Many under the age of 24. And yeah, young people are being severely affected by this virus, and many of them are starting to die because this is a very serious situation. And I'll get to the local news that dropped this afternoon in a minute. But I know many of you, if you've been keeping up with the news, know about Mississippi, and they're just breaking daily records. I mean, clearly they have like over 7,000 new cases a day, with many deaths to go along with it. And many of you have either seen news conferences that they've held or are aware of the fact that they are building a field hospital at the University of Mississippi Medical Center in Jackson in the third floor of the parking structure. That is how bad this situation is. They have no beds, they have no space, they have no room, and they have way more sick people than they can actually hold in that hospital. So they have built a field hospital in the parking structure of the garage. Shifting gears here to Shelby County, we've not seen cases as high as we have now since January of this year. Classic example of that would be we have seen over 2,000 new cases of the Delta variant in the past 3 days. And, of course, that's pretty alarming stuff. I mean, you're talking about 800 new cases on average per day. So it's not getting any better, and it is getting worse. LeBonner said last week that they are running out of space. Their ICUs are filling up. Their emergency rooms are completely full. Children are in the ICU. They're on vents as well. Heartbreaking. This is very, very, very sad. There are some restaurants in town that have had to close their doors because of sickness / new cases of the virus. I went to a restaurant over the weekend. I went to a steakhouse, which is a pretty popular joint. And normally on Saturday evenings, it's full. Now, I had already ordered my dinner online, so I just went to go pick it up. But driving to it and driving in the parking lot, I didn't see a car in the parking lot, just a few on the side, which happened to be the pickup side. So when the young lady finally came out, I said, well, what's going on? I said, y'all closed tonight? And she said, yeah, we are closed to indoor dining. And I said, well, what's the reason for that? And she said, because we don't have enough cook staff, or, we don't have enough staff, internally to be able to have, a full indoor dining room. And trust me, this place on a Saturday night was going to make a lot of money, but they didn't this past Saturday night. Now, you can translate that to mean, I'm sure that there were some cases. I'm sure that there were some positive cases, and I'm sure that they didn't show up, or, and they didn't have enough staff to do what they needed to do. They barely had enough staff to do the drive-through, the pickup. So, yeah, this is a real deal. Let me see here. Baptist Hospital late last week joined the remainder of the local hospitals here in requiring its workers to get vaccinated sometime by the end of October. Which reminds me, the Fullview Missionary Baptist Church missions team will provide COVID-19 shots for children ages 12 and up. Now, this event will be on August 21st at Cornerstone Prep Academy, Leicester, located at 320 Carpenter in the Binghamton community. And then once again now, it is August 21st at the Cornerstone Prep Academy. You can call Fullview Missionary Baptist Church for more details in terms of the times and everything else that you need to know. Locally, of course, it depends on who you believe. We had either 5 or 6 shooting deaths from over the weekend in a very short period of time between Saturday night and Sunday morning, somewhere around 4 or 5 hour stretch there, including a 17-year-old young man. The man who was out walking his dog late that evening was hit and killed, and as was his dog. Hit and run, keep going, keep moving. So I don't know what else is to say about all of that. I really don't. You remember we talked last week about the man, Mr. Gregory Livingston, who's a security guard that shot and killed Alvin Motley at the Kroger station, the gas station up there on Poplar. Well, I saw today that he was in court for his initial appearance. He has retained the services of Leslie Ballin and Steve Reese to defend him. And in the meantime, the funeral for Alvin Motley will be held this Wednesday in Illinois. He was from Chicago. And Reverend Al Sharpton is slated to do the eulogy. Now, and that's it for the news and notes of today. But I want to take a minute to say something that I didn't do last week. Saturday, I watched the funeral of someone who was very close to me at one time. Lee Vance, who was the sitting sheriff of Hinds County, Mississippi, died August 3rd of COVID-related issues. He was 63 years of age. Before you ask, yes, he was fully vaccinated, and it was a breakthrough case. But, as we all know, God determines how long we're going to be here, not us. And he was found unresponsive in his home, and he had passed away. They had his funeral this past weekend in Jackson at the Memorial Coliseum. Hundreds and hundreds of people showed up, and watching the outpouring of love, respect, and admiration that he garnered, from the lives he touched, it was very emotional. Very emotional. And, brought some tears to my eyes, I can tell you. He and I worked together way back in the early 90s in Jackson, Mississippi at the Jackson Police Department as PIOs. For those who don't know what that means, Public Information Officer, the spokesperson for the agency. He was a patrolman at the time. I was a civilian, and I actually was working in television news at the time and got the job from television news to work for the police department. A wonderful man. Saw him at that time. He was a patrolman, but he quickly ascended up the ladder, sergeant, commander. He was appointed to be the chief of police for the Jackson Police Department a few years back. And he ran for sheriff of Hinds County in 2019 and won. So he was in his first term. You know, when you take note of things like this, and for me, there are two things that I want to pass on to everybody if you're listening. One, try to live a life worth living and be selfless in doing so. Do what you do because it's in your heart to do. Lee was a public service. He served over 30 years in law enforcement. But more than that, he was a devoted friend, a devoted father, you know, someone that you could always rely on, someone that would pick you up and support you and encourage you any way he could if you needed it, somebody that would straighten you out if you needed that as well. But we don't know when the day or the hour when God is going to call us home. So try to live a life worth living and be selfless in the acts that you carry out. Secondly, give flowers to those you care about while they can still enjoy them. My mother used to say this all the time. You know, she used to say, you know, give me my flowers while I'm still here, you know, so I can appreciate it. So if you care about somebody, if there's somebody important to you, first of all, check on them. If folks out here, you know, you hadn't checked on in a while, pick up the phone, call them, shoot them a note, shoot them a text, anything. Say, how you doing? I'm just thinking about you. I just want to make sure you were doing well and want to make sure you were doing okay. Okay. Just while you have the chance to do so, do it. Be expressive, you know, tell somebody how you feel, tell somebody that you care, okay? So those are the two lessons that I learned from this. And, you know, you have a sense of your own mortality when things like this happen unexpectedly. But rest in love, Lee Dan Vance. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, we will get Real Talk Memphis started. I'm Chip. Right back.
You're listening to Real Talk with Chip Washington. If you're celebrating a birthday, anniversary, or special occasion, shoot him a note and he'll read it on the air. Get involved and tell somebody about Real Talk. We'll be right back.
Every Saturday I go to Fifth City, but every Sunday morning I hang out with Brandy Rinks for her putting on airs, country, honky tonk, folk. She's the best, y'all. Tune in every Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m.
Established in 1999, Bentley Travel Services is a family-owned and operated travel service company with offices in Forestville, Maryland, Memphis, Tennessee, and Columbia, South Carolina. They are proud to support WYXR and their mission. For more information, go to bentleytravelservices.com.
Bill's Kiln, now on Mondays at midnight. WYXR 91.7 FM, Memphis.
I'm listening.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday. Your humble host, Chip here. Glad to have you with us. And I'm told by my crack production staff that I'm supposed to remind you to like, share, and comment. We're on Facebook Live, so, you know, we always want to know what you're thinking and what your opinion is and everything else. So like, share, and comment. And, you know, we would deeply appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Okay, so now as we get into the show, we talked about COVID. And, you know, I think everybody kind of knows right now that we are living in a pandemic of the unvaccinated. And before I introduce my first guest, I want to say that what I didn't say at the beginning, the breaking news this afternoon was Governor Bill Lee signed an executive order saying that parents have the right to basically say that their kids opt out is the term that was used, opt out of wearing a mask in any school district in the state of Tennessee. So parents have the right to determine whether or not their child can wear a mask or not wear a mask. If they don't want them to wear one, they have to write a note, I believe, to the school instructing them of that. I will see if I can get some. If I got all that right, I think I do. So while I greet my first guest, he is an infectious disease specialist and a man that basically is almost the face of all of this since it started. He is Dr. Steve Threlkeld. And Dr. Steve, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Always good to be with you, Chef. I'm sorry we still have so much to talk about.
Boy, you're not kidding. And first, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you. This was a bit stunning to me. The decision that came down from the state capitol this afternoon. First, I want to get your thoughts about what you thought about it, and second, what kind of ramifications is this going to hold for all of us?
Well, I'm not the best guy to comment on politics, but I guess the real question was there going to be a special session called? And I guess the executive order did what that special session may have done in allowing people to sort of get away from the mandate.
Exactly.
It's difficult because I think that I'm sort of a fan of the Shelby County Health Department, what they're able to do. I think that doing things individually on the county basis is good. And I think in general, it offers some advantages. What our concern is, those of us who take care of COVID patients, it's no secret that the pediatric cases are going up.
Right.
We're in schools now. I can't tell you, quite a few physician, nurse, parents, and grandparents are already saying to me, oh gosh, my kid's best friend had COVID on day 1 or 2 of school, and now the classroom's closed down. This is already happening. We're seeing it in Arkansas and Mississippi. So we're kind of worried that the sort of situation that we thought might happen the first time, thankfully it didn't, could happen this time at schools. It could be really sort of a chamber of transmission. And it just turns out that the original Wuhan variant wasn't transmissible enough for kids to really spread it terribly effectively. Right. It's not the same war we're fighting anymore. The Delta variant seems to be much more efficient at passaging through children and therefore into their families, which could include people who are unvaccinated, as the kids are in many cases, obviously, and then those who even have been vaccinated but may be immune suppressed. And we may have more hospitalizations brewing from that.
It really is kind of a shock to the system to see just how powerful this variant is, the Delta variant, and how it really is affecting these young people. It's basically sticking to them. And you and I spoke off air briefly earlier today, and you said a lot of the young people 20 and under are being hospitalized and even dying. Please go into that a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, the disease has, as you said, it is indeed a pandemic of the unvaccinated now. And who is vaccinated? Well, the elderly people are vaccinated. They're old enough to remember parents and aunts and uncles who died of pediatric illnesses that we now don't have anymore because of vaccines. So the elderly population is quite amenable to vaccinations, that and the fact that they were the real targets of it. Mm-hmm. Well, the problem is for the rest of us now is that it's come to the lower age population. And if you look at the people who have died in recent days in the hospital, we've lost people, several in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s. And that's tough. It's tough on families. It's tough on the staff that takes care of these folks. It's a bigger shock to see people dying in that age group. But that's who's left to get it. And this thing is so contagious that it's going to be infecting enough people that even though the mortality rate is low, it certainly is, but that's unfortunately not enough, because if enough people get it, you're going to lose some people, and we've lost plenty.
We're talking with Dr. Steve Threlkeld from the Baptist Medical Group, infectious disease specialist. And, we have seen, as you said, many cases of a lot of young people under the age of 30. And even though right now we're not seeing, quote unquote, the deaths as high as they could be, we're starting to see an increase in deaths, are we not? And things that you just said are going up. And quite honestly, if nothing is done to put a stop to this in any kind of way, we're going to probably see some really bad numbers, not to mention that flu season is right around the corner.
Yeah, and the respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is really going pretty strong in kids right now. That's causing a lot of hospitalizations and illnesses. You can't really tell the difference between that and COVID in a lot of situations. So it takes up a lot of healthcare hours to find the difference and to make those diagnoses. But yeah, I think one of the big problems is, and it's not like it's in the beginning, we talked about blunting the curve, and people have kind of forgotten about that. But that was all about keeping the healthcare system from going underwater. And you think it can't happen? Look at Louisiana. Look at Mississippi. Look at somewhere in places in Arkansas. Hospitals, simply the ICUs are full. And therefore, the emergency departments get full because they can't put people into the ICUs. Then the ambulances. I mean, this is a situation where you better drive carefully, because after another month of this, there may be no place for an ambulance to drop you off. You could die in your ambulance because there is no ICU to take you to. We've seen pleas from large hospitals in Louisiana where that situation has already happened. Yeah. We're generally lucky in Memphis because we have a lot of hospital beds per capita compared to other places. But you don't want to tempt that sort of situation. And finally, I think people say, well, this is going to be a short-lived wave. And it may be. It's been shorter than others when you look at Delta in other countries and even in other states. But if your best plan is that we hope this thing doesn't last very long, we're not doing our job.
You know, having said what you just said about some of the other areas that we hear about on a daily basis in Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi and Florida and so many other places in terms of that, how are we in relationship now? I mean, our hospitals are starting to get full. I don't want people to be under the false impression that they're not, but we may not be in a critical situation yet, are we? But are we? Could that happen?
Oh, absolutely, it could happen. We see it happening. I mean, the largest hospital in Louisiana is full. People stacked up in the emergency department. They're not taking transfers. And that has been very eloquently portrayed in several sort of pleading sort of announcements by the infectious disease director of that hospital. Yeah. And so, it not only could it happen, it has happened in a lot of places around us. We're already strained and stressed, not to mention just the wear and tear on the healthcare workers who are taking care of these folks. So sure, it can happen. And you start in a situation where you have to spend more of your time and effort on COVID. And when 30, 40, 50% of your ICU space is taken up taking care of COVID patients, guess what? There's not any room for people with their heart attacks and their strokes and their trauma from car accidents. So that's where you can get into the really catastrophic situations where there just aren't any places to put people that need that level of care. And you can't have any room at the places that you normally would transfer people to, like the larger hospitals in Memphis. There's no place to send folks from 100 miles in the surrounding area. And folks just die in ambulances in smaller hospitals because they can't get the higher level of care.
Unbelievable. Last week at the Joint Task Force briefing, Fire Director Gina Sweat was very clear and very direct about people and ambulances and wait times in emergency rooms, basically saying that if you are a person who thinks you can get an ambulance because, you want to get tested for COVID or you think you have that and you're going to get seen right away. Sorry, Charlie, not going to happen. There are people sitting in waiting rooms 25, 30 hours in a waiting room waiting to get looked at. So this to me is a pretty critical situation.
Well, it really calls to mind the idea that it's not just your choice for yourself, whether you get vaccinated and wear a mask in judicious situations to prevent infection. I mean, these infections are what are driving this problem. And if we can cut down on the number of infections, obviously we're going to cut down on the number of serious ones and hospitalizations and deaths. So there really are ramifications downstream of the simple number of cases we are allowing to happen. Right. And since it's by and large, the folks who get vaccinated aren't ending up in hospitals. They aren't ending up dead. They aren't ending up even seriously ill, with a few exceptions, as you pointed out. But it is, in fact, very rare. But it's not so rare. I have seen a lot of people die in the recent few weeks, and they tend to be younger. And they all say it can't happen to me, but there's enough of this virus going around where there are plenty of people who are going to die of it, making that statement wrong.
So as we wrap up with Dr. Steve Threlkeld, Dr. Steve, we've had conversations. You and I have spoken several times about all this, and we're at the place now where the message is about as simple as it can be: either get vaccinated or get COVID. There are still thousands and thousands of people in this county who absolutely have not yet and probably won't get vaccinated. I mean, what do we do now? I mean, what do we say? How do we get the point across? Does it have to be a personal member of a family member or somebody to die, or a young person that had no pre-existing conditions or comorbidities to die at a very young? I mean, what's it going to take to try to reach an impact that will actually make a difference?
Well, and a lot of people just aren't afraid of this anymore, amazingly. I can tell you the people taking care of it are still afraid of it. And even weirdly, even having people lose a family member, sometimes that's not enough to get their attention. And it amazes all of us when that happens. But, when it gets FDA approved, I think you're going to see a lot more mandates for people to get vaccinated and employees. And you look at New Orleans. I mean, they have in their restaurants and some places of businesses, they've mandated people having either a 72-hour test that's negative or a vaccination proof. And you say, well, I choose not to get the vaccine. Well, that's fine, but people can choose not to let you into their business either. That's their choice. And sometimes cities even are making that choice. So choice can work both ways in that. And you hope it doesn't come to that sort of thing. But if we get in the sort of situation that some of these other cities and states have been in, it'll be a tragedy the likes we haven't seen certainly in our lifetime.
Do you approve of the hospital groups here in Memphis area? All of them saying that basically the frontline workers need to be vaccinated, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, I'm a card-carrying member of the Infectious Diseases Society of America, and besides having great parties, probably not actually, but we all support that. We think that is the way. It won't stop the pandemic, but it will stop the seriousness of the pandemic, and it'll stop us from going over the falls into these sorts of situations that some of the other states and cities have done. So yeah, I think all of us in infectious disease, essentially with one voice, and we're the ones that kind of been studying this from the beginning, taking care of people with it. I think all of us agree that is clearly the best choice for you personally and for us really citywide and nationwide to get this vaccine. They're safe, they're effective. I can talk to people for hours about their concerns and do regularly. And I think the facts are clearly on the side of the vaccine. And if you're not getting your information from people who know about it, go get it from information from your physician or people who know about this illness, because I think they'll give you the right information.
Dr. Steve Threlkeld, thank you so much for once again coming and dropping some knowledge on us. Please be safe out there and keep doing the work that you're doing. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You too, Chip. Good to be with you.
You too. Dr. Steve Threlkeld, ladies and gentlemen, once again giving us some very factual information in reference to where we are with this vaccine. And really, there isn't a whole lot more to say about it. It's not that you don't know that there's testing available. It's not that you don't know that the vaccines are available. And by the way, immunocompromised individuals, people with weakened immune systems, organ transplant folks, and other people are now eligible for a third booster shot. So whether it is Pfizer or Moderna or Johnson & Johnson, or more like Pfizer and Moderna, you can actually get a shot. You don't have to prove a whole lot. I think you may want to keep your vaccination card with you. And you can go to Walgreens, CVS, or any of the drugstores, or just check online to find out where you can get that shot. But if you're eligible to get a booster shot and you fall into any of those categories, you should do so. Another break, and when we come back, we are going to talk all things Memphis with Mr. Eric Barnes, CEO of the Daily Memphian, and a whole lot more. This is Real Talk Memphis. I'm Chip. We'll be back in a minute.
You're listening to Real Talk with Chip Washington. If you're celebrating a birthday, anniversary, or special occasion, shoot him a note and he'll read it on the air. Get involved and tell somebody about Real Talk. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Janet, host of Jaunt with Janet, Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m., bringing you new releases in the rock, pop, and electronic genres with a little bit of the old fused in, all here on WYXR Memphis 91.7 FM.
There's really nothing better than a box of records, not even a bottle of beer. Drinks are gone in a matter of minutes, but vinyl just won't disappear.
Hi there, this is Zach Ives. My show, A Box of Records, plays every Tuesday night, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., right here on WYXR 91.7 FM, Memphis, Tennessee.
Established in 1999, Bentley Travel Services is a family-owned and operated travel service company with offices in Forestville, Maryland, Memphis, Tennessee, and Columbia, South Carolina. They are proud to support WYXR and their mission. For more information, go to bentleytravelservices.com.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening. Very happy to have you with us, and very happy to have my next guest. I'm so happy that he found the time. Eric Barnes.
Oh, stop.
Eric Barnes is the CEO of the Daily Memphian. He is the host of the very long-running and popular show Behind the Headlines. And he, if that wasn't enough, he hosts a podcast that I was privileged to be a guest on called The Sidebar, which is heard right here on WYXR. So without further ado, my friend, Mr. Eric Barnes. Eric, thanks for coming.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. There was one date I couldn't do, and now it makes it sound like I'm very self-important.
He's a busy guy, this guy. Well, listen, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show. I really, really do. He's been on my show before. He came to visit me when I was on WMQM, the AM station, over in the trailer on the other side of town. And I'm just glad he got in and out safely. So
I knew you win. It was a great time. It was really fun.
Yeah, well, it was fun. So, Eric, first of all, you have taken the Daily Memphian along with, I know you're going to say everybody who works there, everybody who has a contributing post with it, but it has really become almost the go-to in this town in terms of news. And I mean, you all stay on top of it every single day. I guess I should ask you from the view from the top, how do you feel about the Daily Memphian and the progress it's made since it's made its debut?
Yeah. And we're coming up on our third anniversary since launch. In, mid-September.
Wow.
And some days it feels like it's been 20 years, and some days it's gone by in a flash. I mean, I don't know which is good and which is bad, but I feel great about it. I mean, we're always trying to get better. We're adding people right now, and it's a grind. I mean, you're publishing 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Try to cover all of Memphis, anything and everything, and all things in between, and so. We're far from perfect, but I just think we keep getting better, and it's a lot of fun still, and we keep being able to add really talented people to help make us better.
Well, that's always important, and as I say, you guys do a great job. I guess in terms of a publication like that, how do you know that you're covering the bases that you want to cover or that need covering, so to speak? Because there's so much going on. There's so much going on out here.
Yeah, and we can never cover. I mean, we have a newsroom of about 35. Mm-hmm. We'll probably go up to about 37, 38 with this round of hiring and freelancers, and that's still not enough. I mean, keep in mind in 2000, give or take 2000, the Commercial Appeal had 250 people in its newsroom.
Right.
Now, granted, they had a bigger print edition, and some of them were print. But I mean, they had at one point in their history, they had 5 people in gardening. They had, their freelance budget was nearly $1 million a year. I mean, it's just so. And even then, they felt like lots of people who work there then and work there now. They felt like they weren't covering everything they possibly could cover. So, we try to just be as fast moving as we can. We try to be as responsive as possible to people reaching out to us. We try to, watch social media and the comments site and say, hey, how come you guys weren't there? And, a lot of, social media and comments, people are a little conspiratorial. Like it's just, we just didn't get to it. It wasn't anything conspiratorial. It just, we should have been there and we weren't there, or we didn't have anybody to get there. And so that's the balancing act.
We are speaking with Eric Barnes, and I ran down everything that he does, and if I try to do it again, the segment will be over, so we'll just keep moving. He and Bill Drees also host. I like this guy. He and Bill Drees host a program, a long-running program that if you're anybody in this town, you need to be on that show, and you generally are. It's called Behind the Headlines. And you do a fine job as host, my friend. Both of you two do. And you cover all of the stories, all of the relevant stories. How, in your mind, how important is a program like Behind the Headlines, and what has given its legs to be so successful?
Well, I think, we're coming up on 11 years, which is crazy. 11
years? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and it's every week. And, every once in a while we have to do a rerun. But so we average 50 shows a year. So we've done well over 500 shows.
Wow.
And I think the great thing about it is that we're able to talk for, almost a half an hour about sometimes very wonky, very detailed subjects. The show that's coming up this week is about the eviction moratorium and the end of the eviction moratorium.
Wow. Okay.
And we had to pre-tape it for a bunch of scheduling reasons. And so I already know what's on the show. And it wasn't for anything I did. We were just able to pull together these really interesting people who work on the issues of the moratorium and what this is going to mean as this moratorium is increasingly lifted and more people are thrown out. Mm-hmm. Pretty deep, because we have 26 minutes. And in a way that we get to bring a lot of different voices to the room and to the table. And I think that's what people have liked about it, is that we don't do quick cuts, and there's a lot of local TV news, and it plays its role. That's fine. But what we're able to do is go a little bit deeper and spend more time on issues. And I think that's, and some of our probably wonkier, maybe less, it's a weekly show, right? So we're not necessarily breaking news. Yeah. We're not trying to cover one today. We kind of leave that to other people, but we can go pretty deep on an issue.
Well, now I'm gonna tell you, your audio is cutting in and out. I don't know if it's the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's me.
What it is.
I'm bouncing around. We've
been bouncing around. Busy man bouncing around. So, but you're right. It's a very informative show, and I watch it. And I mean, if I don't catch it, there's always rebroadcast of it. But I really enjoy how you both really cover all ends of a particular story. And I'm a big fan of long form. Interviews and things like that, because you can't really I worked in television news for a long time, and a minute 20 doesn't cover it. You know what I mean? So that's why we need shows like this. Don't you agree? Don't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all been about. I mean, the things that would come up, that you'd be 20 minutes into it and go, I'm out of time. Yeah. You talk about something like just the eviction moratorium, or issues, stories we've done on race, or stories we've done on equity, or stories we've done on the budget. Just the detail. You can't do the budget, the city or county budget in minutes. I mean, you can 25 minutes, but you can get pretty far and beyond sort of, kind of a glancing look at it. So I think that's what people have been drawn to and have liked for all these years.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, just as because you have to take a pretty wide view of things in kind of the overall landscape of Memphis and Shelby County, which is what you cover. What are some of the main issues? Let's exclude COVID, because we know where that's at. But what are some of the other issues that you think about when you have time to sit and do that and go, these are some, there's some pretty interesting things that we need to talk about, or that we're in the midst of as a city and county. What would those be?
I think education's a huge one, and I hate to make it about COVID, but coming to the year that kids spent, for the most part, not in school, and the learning loss, and obviously the numbers came out, the testing numbers came out, and they were across the board just real declines in learning. And if you knew my kids are in college, and it was hard. All my friends with kids in schools, it was just a terrible year. And I think that is a big story with long-term ramifications for the city, and also in the whole country. We're just talking about Memphis.
Yeah.
And the kids who got kind of lost in that virtual shuffle and weren't really attending. And I think that's a big, big story. I think the crime, we don't do a lot, either Daily Memphian or Behind the Headlines, we don't do a lot of last night's crime, but crime's a big issue. And obviously it spiked in the country and in Memphis in the pandemic. And how do you effectively fight crime? And how do you effectively train police? And how do you effectively make all that together in a way that everybody feels safer and feels like the huge amount of money that's being spent on the criminal justice system here and around the country is being spent wisely. And so I think those are a couple really big things about how we live that we'll try to keep digging into.
Finishing up with Eric Barnes, CEO, Daily Memphian, the host of Behind the Headlines, and the Sidebar podcast that I was privileged to be on. How long have you been doing that show?
I think we did it for about a year before YXR launched, and it was called The Extra, and then we changed it to calling it The Sidebar for whatever reason. So how long, a year and a half, almost 2 years, give or take, something like that. And it's been really fun. It's fun because it's a little newsy, and I can just interview interesting people like you. And Brett Batterson, who I see you're having on. I had him on a couple months ago and just kind of talk less about what's happening right now or this past week. It's even more just about kind of who some of these people are that run and work in and all these various interesting organizations in town. So that's the Sidebar. It's much looser and sort of fun that way.
Yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed being on the show. And I just want to say thank you, sir, for coming on the show. I really enjoy your work, period. And
you're very nice.
And I'm gonna have to figure out how to find you in this building.
Well, next time we'll do this in the studio together. It'll be great.
Man, that'll be fun. I would really enjoy that. Eric, thanks so much for taking time. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man. See you.
Talk to you, buddy. Eric Barnes, ladies and gentlemen, and what a great guy, and someone who is information filled. I forgot to mention he's also an author too. He's written a book. I know a book, at least a couple of books. So I really enjoyed that conversation. Thanks, Eric, for coming on the show. We're going to take our final break, and when we come back, we are going to shift gears and lift the curtain, so to speak, on the Broadway season by speaking with the president and CEO of the Orpheum Theater. His name is Brett Batterson. This is Real Talk. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Real Talk with Chip Washington. If you're celebrating a birthday, anniversary, or special occasion, shoot him a note and he'll read it on the air. Get involved and tell somebody about Real Talk. We'll be right back.
Hey Memphis, my name is Ron Buck. I am looking forward to bringing you my show, Riverside, every Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. I will be playing rock and blues, old and new, and featuring Memphis music and events. I hope you'll tune in to Riverside every Friday at 1 p.m. on WYXR 91.7 FM, Raised by Sound.
Established in 1999, Bentley Travel Services is a family-owned and operated travel service company with offices in Forestville, Maryland, Memphis, Tennessee, and Columbia, South Carolina. They are proud to support WYXR and their mission. For more information, go to bentleytravelservices.com.
Hello, this is Jerry, your host of Without a Net. Here on WYXR Sunday nights from 8 to 10, we're going to be hearing some pure jazz and some impure jazz and lots of other good music too. Come join me this Sunday. See you later.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And yes, indeed, this is Real Talk Memphis on this Monday. I am your humble host, Chip Washington, and I'm very happy to have my next guest. You know, many of us who enjoy live theater have missed it for quite some time, but the Orpheum Theater is making a comeback, and just not too far down the road here, and to talk a little bit about the upcoming season and managing COVID issues and other things such as that. I have an honor to have the president and CEO of the Orpheum Theater. His name is Brett Batterson. And Brett, thank you again for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm honored to be on the show, so thank you for asking.
Well, so listen, we've all been dealing with COVID in one way or another for the past, 15, 16 months. And I know it put a big dent in things in terms of live theater performances last year. But you're getting ready for a new season. How are you feeling about things? I know people are excited about it, but how are you feeling, in light of, what we're seeing with the Delta variant? Is the show still going to go on?
The show is still going to go on. I don't believe that there's any desire by anybody, whether it's us politicians or the producers in New York, to not see those shows happen. So we're planning to open on October the 5th and do everything we can to keep people safe, but to present the best of Broadway to Memphis as we've done for all these years.
In a world of challenges, how big a challenge has this been in terms of planning and getting folks and people who are dealing with things in other parts of the country? How big a challenge has it been for you to put together a calendar for this year?
Well, it's been real difficult. The whole pandemic, has been difficult for everybody, but it just devastated the live theater industry. And when it first hit, we were making plans, and then the next week we'd throw those plans out and make new plans. And ultimately we learned that man can't plan our way out of this. And
right.
We had to deal with it. Now we have tools to keep us safer, and we've got the wherewithal to keep going. So we're coming back, and it's been difficult, but I think once we open the doors, once people come to their first show, they're going to see it's a safe place to be, and they're going to be happy that we're back.
I was going to say that's really going to be a very exciting night for you when you open the doors on a brand new season. I'm going to ask you to run down some of the shows that we can look forward to this year, but I want to go back to what you said about it's been a real difficult time for the theater community as a whole, and that's from coast to coast. And of course, I think of New York City and Broadway. I guess they're planning a comeback too now, as far as you know.
Well, they are. There's actually 2 shows open on Broadway right now.
Oh, okay.
Springsteen on Broadway, Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, yeah.
Believe it or not, reopened Broadway.
Wow.
And he's doing his show, and then a show called Passover opened and is running through October. We have the next 2 shows opening in New York in about 17 days. They're all happening. There's a slow rollout, but they're coming back.
So as pertains to what is happening here in Memphis, Tennessee at the legendary Orpheum Theater, give us a rundown. What is the first show going to be? And if you wouldn't mind kind of laying out the landscape for us and what we can expect this season?
I'd be happy to. We're going to open with Come From Away on October the 5th, and that is actually rescheduled from our 2019-2020 season of Broadway.
Okay.
I know. We've been waiting for this show now for 2 years. It's a great little show about a small town in Newfoundland that a number of planes on 9/11 had to be diverted to, and they ended up with more passengers from these planes than there were people in the town. And it's the story of how the town took care of these people that came from away, if you will.
Wow.
So that opens on October 5th.
Mm-hmm.
The next show I don't think needs an introduction. It's Disney's The Lion King.
Oh, man.
November 11th. Yeah. It's great. It's going to be here for 3 weeks. And then we have, in December, 2 weeks of Hamilton. I'm telling you, my board thinks I am the programming genius for getting Lion King and Hamilton both in the fall as we reopen.
You are,
and I'm going to let them believe it.
You are. I would too, my friend. You are not kidding. That is a serious back-to-back. Now, I saw Hamilton the last time it was here. I saw it. That was an amazing show. It really was. I really enjoyed that. And and of course I've seen The Lion King. It's been around for a long time, and yeah, you're right. You couldn't do any better than those two in particular. And I'm pretty sure that interest has already arisen. Lay out some of the other shows that you have coming down the road for me.
Yeah. Then after the holidays, we have Hadestown in February, which is the Tony Award-winning musical from the 2019 Broadway season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great show. It's all kind of got a New Orleans jazz feel to the music. Just a terrific show. So we're looking forward to that. We have a couple more Tony-winning Best Musicals coming up, but in between in February, we have Tootsie. Based on the old movie Tootsie.
Yes.
Everybody knows that story, and we're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Then in March, we have Cats, which has been here many, many times, but it has not been here in 10 years. So we have a whole new audience, a generation audience to see Cats when it comes. And that also was a Best Musical Tony winner.
Now, Cats has been out for, I would say, decades, has it not? I mean, I think I saw Cats. I lived in Los Angeles for that's where I was born and raised, and I saw Cats in Los Angeles. It's been that long. I mean, it's been out for a long time, has it not?
It's been out since the 80s.
Been out since the 80s. Wow. And it's huh?
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, you know, I'm not gonna age myself, but yeah, it seems about that long. But how does I mean, how does a play like that, for example, that has been out that long, still have that longevity? I mean, are there people still? Clearly, there still must be a generational audience that wants to see what this is all about.
Yeah, well, Cats, you know, it hasn't been out solidly since the 80s. There are new productions that have come out. So this is the newest production that played Broadway about 2 seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens with these old, well-worn musicals that keep coming back is one person sees it as a kid, and then they become parents, and they want their kids they want to show it to their kids.
Generation.
So then they bring and then that cycle keeps repeating. That's why I think the Nutcracker is so popular every Christmas, because there's always going to be somebody who wants to show it to their kids so they can experience what they experience. And that's what I think Cats is going through now.
Man, who doesn't like the Nutcracker? I can tell you that, right? That's another all-time classic. So I would be remiss, sir, if I didn't give you the floor to tell folks what they need to do, how they need to get their tickets, what they need to do, and give the website, telephone number, and whatever information you would like.
Okay, we still have a few more shows, but we'll save those for next time.
Yes, sir.
Our website is orpheum-memphis.com. All the information you need to buy a ticket is there. Right now, only Come From Away and The Lion King are available for single ticket purchases. All the other shows require you to buy a season ticket. And Hamilton will go on single tickets next, and then all the rest of the shows will go at the same time. But all the information's on our website, orpheum-memphis.com.
Orpheum-memphis.com, ladies and gentlemen. All you need to know and more about what is coming up in the Orpheum Theater cavalcade of great theater entertainment this year. Brett Batterson, thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show and enlightening us. And I promise you, I will have you back, and we'll talk more about what's coming up down the road and how things have progressed to that particular point in time. But in the meantime, you guys be safe down there, and thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, sir. Well, this has been, we ended that show nicely. That was always entertaining to find out about the entertainment that is coming, because Memphis is a big entertainment city. You know, that's who we are in this town, and live theater coming back. I know a lot of folks are very, very excited about being able to get back into the Orpheum, getting all dressed up, looking all sharp and everything, putting on a good smelly, having your ladies with you in the whole 9 yards, taking them to a show, a beautiful show, a nice show, nice evening. And don't forget to take them to dinner. And don't forget to tip your waiters and waitresses. Anyway, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for checking us out here tonight on Real Talk Memphis. I truly enjoy this show. And once again, share, like, and follow this fine piece of radio broadcasting, okay? Tell a friend, tell a phone, tell whoever. And, because that's how we grow, and I hope that we're doing the right thing. By the way, I'm looking for good news stories. If you have a good news story, just you can shoot me a note to my page or messenger or whatever. Say, Chip, I got some good news, XYZ, ZZZ. I'd like to, in the top of the show, in the news and notes on a good news note. So if there's good news happening out there, please let me know. If you have a show suggestion, topic, or idea, guest, please let me know. Reach out and let us know. Hey, Chip, did you know about XYZ and blah, 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 and the whole 9 yards? I'd be more than happy to take a look at it. Producers will take a look at it, and we'll see, if we can get them on the show and do our due diligence. Also, I'm always looking for those birthdays, anniversaries, and special occasions as well. As Jack plays us out, once again, really, sincerely, thank you. By the way, before I go, many of you heard about the earthquake in Haiti over the weekend, 7.2. Over 1,300 people are dead, and scores and scores and scores are injured. So please, before you go to bed tonight, please lift them up in prayer. Say a prayer for the folks, our brothers and sisters in Haiti, going through a very, very, very difficult time. We list each and every one of them in prayer. I pray for you. I hope you pray for me. So in the meantime, in between time, for all of us here at Real Talk Memphis, we appreciate you. We really do. And as I always like to say at the end of these things, I'm Chip, and I'm out.
It's real.